All right, so Daf 75. Okay, so we left it at Itmar. Itmar Beirav Mishmei Derav Omri. A dispute was stated with regards to this matter. This is page 75 for the record. The sages of the school of Rav say, in the name of Rav, that the cleansing process consists of two stages for a damp wine press, namely ashes and water. We talked about this. And three stages for a dry wine press, namely water, ashes, and then water. Now, as we did say yesterday that it was a combination, niguv was a combination. I don't know if you guys got to hear the video I sent you last night, but anyways, niguv is ashes and water. So here we have Rav saying that it is two tarti utlas. It is two stages for a damp wine press, only ashes and water, and three when the wine press is dry, which means water, because we said for dry one you start with water, then ashes, and then more water. Okay. Ushmuel amar tlas arba. And Shmuel says that it's a matter of three when it's a damp wine press, you have to have ashes and water, and then ashes again. And four, when it's a dry wine press, again you start with water, then ashes and water, then ashes again. Okay, Besura Masniochi. In Surah they taught the dispute in the following manner, which is the one that we just said. The Pumbedisa Masnu, in the city of Pumbedisa, he said that Bei Rav Amre Mishmei Rav, that Rav's view is Tlasa Arbe, 3, 4, meaning that the cleansing process is 3 when it's damp. You start first ashes and water, then ashes. And 4 stages when the wine press is dry, meaning water, ashes, water, ashes. Okay, and Shmuel Amar Arba Chamesh. And Shmuel says 4 and 5. 4 when it's damp, you start with ashes and water, then ashes and water. And 5 when it's dry, meaning water, ashes, water, ashes, water. Okay, Velo Pligi, and there's no argument. Mar Kochashiv Mayo Basrai. And the Gemara comments with regards to the latter version of the dispute. They do not actually disagree. One sage, Shmuel, counts the last rinsing with water, which is only in order to remove the ashes. Umar lo kachoshiv maya basrai. And the other sage, Rav, does not count the last rinsing with water. Therefore, Rav counts 3 and 4 stages, whereas Shmuel counts 4 and 5. But they both agree that that last water has to be done. It's just whether it's counted in the list or it's just taken for granted. Bo minei me Rabbi Avau. The students asked Rabbi Avau with regards to a similar issue of cleansing a utensil from wine of Gentiles. Hani gurgei de armoi mai. With regards to those wicker nets used to hold the grapes during the treading, which belong to goyim, what is the way to cleanse them? Amar lehu Rabbi Avau. Rabbi Avau said, Tanisua we learn. Haresha you gitov ubeis badov tmein. In a case of one whose wine presses or olive presses were impure, ubikesh lasoisam betara, and a person wanted to make them to be pure, wanted to be able to prepare grapes or olives impurity, he must first cleanse the presses from the impure produce from which they were used. So what does he do? Hadafin v'hadashin v'alulavin madichin. He must rinse the planks used in the frame of the wine press, and the troughs and the twigs used as brooms in the wine press. V'hakalin shel nitzarin v'shel bitzbutz minagvon. And he must cleanse the pressing baskets with ashes and water if they were made of palm leaves or of hemp. Okay. V'shel shifo v'shel gami miyashnon shnayim asar chodesh. Or leave them dormant 12 months if they were made of bulrush or of reeds, because these absorb more of the wine. Rabban Shimon Gamliel oimer manichin megat legat umibad lebad. When Shimon Gamliel says he may leave them dormant from one wine pressing season to the next wine pressing season, or from one olive pressing season to the next olive pressing season. So now the Gemara is going to ask, what's the difference between leaving from season to season, or with regards to the case that you leave for 12 months, or just 12 months? Isn't that the same thing? Hainu Tana Kama. The difference is Chorfe ve'afle. The Gemara responds, the difference between them is with regards to early ripening grapes and late ripening grapes. But Mishum Gamliel does not require a precise measure of 12 months, as the lapse between ripening seasons may be greater or less. Rabbi Yossi says, Haroitzi letaron miyad. Yossi says, one who wishes to purify the wine press or olive press immediately without waiting a year, magilin berotchin. He can purge them by pouring boiling water over them, or choltan b'mei zeisim, or he can scald them in water used for cooking olives. Mishum Gamliel Mishum Rabbi Yossi Oimer manichan tachas tzinor shemeimav mekalchin. Mishum Gamliel says in the name of Rabbi Yossi, he can place them under a pipe whose water flows constantly, or b'me'ayin shemaimav rodfin, or in a spring with rapid waters. Bekama oine. And for how long should he leave them there? He should leave them there for an interval of time, as the Gemara will explain. Kederach she'amru beyayin nesech, kach amru betaros. The Brisa says, in the same way that the sages said with cleansing instructions with regards to wine press used for libation wine, so too they stated with instructions with regard to matters of purity. But the Gemara says, you're saying it upside down. Klape layo. Betaros kaiminon. We've just been talking about purifying for purposes of purity, of tumantaro, not with regards to wine of libation. Elo kederach she'amru betaros kach amru b'yayin nesach. We stand corrected. What we mean is to say is that just like we talked about purifying for tumantaro a moment ago, it's the same halacha with regards to yayin nesach. Kama oina. Now the Gemara says, how long is this interval of time that we talked about putting it under a spring or whatever, or running water? Amar Rabbi Chia barabo, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, or yom or laila. According to this rabbi, it means either an entire day or an entire night. We're talking about 12 hours. Rabbi Chana she'eino, this rabbi, and some say, Ramillah Rabbi Chana bar she'eino, Amar Rabba bar Chano, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Chatzi yom v'chatzi laila. Half a day and half a night. Amar Rabbi Shmuel bar Yitzchak v'lapligi. There's no difference between these rabbis. Habit kufas Nisan v'tishrei, habit kufas Tammuz v'tevet. So the difference is that it comes out all to everybody's saying 12 hours. The only difference is that sometimes the day is very big or small, so there's a different way of saying it. And now just to read Zara here, the statement that it is either a day or a night is referring to the seasons of Nisan or Tishrei, meaning the fall or the spring, when the day and the night are of equal length. And that statement, that is half a day and half a night, is referring to the season of Tammuz and Tevet, meaning the summer and winter, when they are not equal, and so 12 hours are measured by half of the day plus half of the night. Amar Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda says, Hani ravake de armoi de mazio. They say, in order to cleanse the Gentiles' straining bags, which are used for straining yeast from wine, with regards to those made of air, which is not absorbent, one may rinse them. Okay, the amoy demazio medichin, the amro menagvon. If they're made out of wool, one must cleanse them with ashes and water. Okay, the kitono miyashnon. If they are made from flax, which is more absorbent, one must leave them dormant. Ve'i iko kitrei, and if they are not, one must undo them. Shari lehu, hani dekule vechaloto. In order to cleanse those Gentiles' baskets and strainers, the armoi, the chayti bechavli detzuri madichon. With regards to those that are plated with palm strips, one may rinse them. The tzavto lenagvon. With regards to those that are plated from tzavto, one must cleanse them with ashes and water. The kitono. With regards to those that are plated with flax, miyashnan. One must leave them dormant. Ve'isbo kitrei shori lehu. And if they have not, one must undo them. Itmar, the Gemara discusses another aspect of the purity of a wine press. Amar shehoshid yodo legat v'nogo be'ash bukulos. It was with regards to one who is not reliable with regards to ritual purity and impurity, and Amoret, who reached his hand into the wine press and touched grape clusters that were lying in the wine. Shoshi yodo legat v'nogo be'ashkolos. Rabbi v'Rabbi Chio chad amar eshko v'kol sevivoisav tmein v'kol hagat kulo tehoiro v'chad amar kol hagat kulo nami tmeyo. Okay, so it says Rabbi Huda Nasi and Rabbi Chio disagree. One says that the cluster he touched and all its surroundings are rendered impure, but the rest of the entire wine press is pure. And one says that the rest of the entire wine press is also rendered impure, as the entire wine press is considered connected due to the wine in it. And according to the one that says that the cluster and all its surroundings are impure, however, the rest of the entire wine press is pure. How is that different from what we learned elsewhere in Taros? Sheret shenimtza berachayim eino metame elo makom mago ve'im hoyo mashkin mahalech hakol tomei. We say over there that the carcass of a creeping animal that was found in an oil press transmits impurity to the place it touched alone. But if there was liquid flowing in the mill, it is all rendered impure. Why is it not the halacha in the case of the wine press as well, that the entire wine press is impure due to the liquid, the wine that is in it? So it says, Hasam lo mafsik lo midi. There, in the case of the oil press, there is nothing that interrupts the flow of the liquid, and therefore the liquid connects everything to render it impure. Hacha mafsike ashkelos. Here, there is an interruption because the grape clusters create an interruption. So that's why the one view says that it will not go throughout the entire wine press. Okay. So the sages taught Rabbi Yirmiyah, Orule Rabbanan Rabbi Yirmiyah. The sages taught Rabbi Yirmiyah, and some say they taught the son of Rabbi Yirmiyah, V'amila Rebrei Rabbi Yirmiyah, Kedibrei Oimer Eshke V'chos Voisav Tmein V'kol Agat Kula Torah. The lenient view that only the grape cluster and its surroundings is impure, but the rest of it is fine. Mishnah Halokech Klei Tashmish Min Hagoyim. One who purchases cooking utensils from the Gentiles must prepare them for use by Jews in the following manner: Eshe darko lehatbil yatbil lehagil yagil lelavim beor yalvim beor hashopet v'ha'askelo melabna beor hasakin shofo v'hita oiro. The following, so it says like this: with regards to those utensils whose manner of preparation is to immerse them in a ritual bath, as they require no further preparation, he must immerse them accordingly. With regards to those utensils whose manner of preparation is to purge them with boiling water, as those utensils are used with boiling water, for example pots, he must purge them accordingly. With regards to those manner of preparation is to heat them while hot, until they're hot, white hot, in the fire, as they are used for grilling, he must heat them until white hot in the fire. Therefore, with regards to the spit and the grill, he must heat them until white hot in the fire. With regards to the knife, he must polish it, and it is rendered pure. Gemara, Tana. The sages taught as follows: V'chulan tzrichin tvila be'arboim sa. Everything you buy from the goy for cooking material, food preparation, you have to put in a mikvah. 40 sa, like a mnida. Menani, immediately from where do we know it? Amar Rava, the Amar Torah says, Kol davar asher yovo be'esh, tavir be'esh v'taher. It says in the Torah, it says, anything that may tolerate the fire, you shall make to go through the fire, and it shall be pure. Okay. The taher is extra, and the taher is telling you have to put in a mikvah. Since it says over there the words, the water of sprinkling, nevertheless it shall be purified with the water of sprinkling. Shomea ani shetzorech hazor shlishu shvi. That sounds like the hazor. That's the main nida used by the paraduma that you sprinkle people for tumas mes, which you sprinkle on the third and on the seventh day. So since you use the word main nida here, I might think you also need third day and seventh day sprinkling. Talmud loimar on the utensil. Ach cholak. You use the word ach, which means nevertheless. So that means that you do not need to do the third and seventh day sprinkling. Imke matam loimar b'mei nida. So why does the Torah use the word mei nida if you don't have to do the sprinkling? Ma'im shenida toveles bohen avi omer boim so. To tell you that you have to use the same type of a mikvah that a woman whose nida would become tar by toiling, and that's the same type of mikvah that you need to use in order to do tvilat kelim. Itzrich lemichta v'tayr, v'itzrich lemichta v'meinida. We need to use the word v'tayr, and we need to use the word meinida. Because v'tayr, if I only would have said v'tayr, havamina v'tayr, called dehu, I would have thought that it means v'tayr. I would say that it means immersing in any amount of water, because rachmana b'meinida. That's why it's a meinida has to be 40 so. Because rachmana b'meinida, havamina, Herav Shemesh Kenida. If it only said Meinida without Vitar, I would have thought you need to wait also until nighttime, like a woman goes to the mikvah. Apparently, if she goes before sunset, she has to wait until sunset to be tar. Because Rachmana Vitar La'alter. That's Vitar, tell you by Tfilas Kelim, as soon as you put it in, take it out, it doesn't matter, you do it in the middle of the afternoon, it's already tar, you can use it. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav Ravu, Afilu, Kelim Chadoshim, Emashmo, even new kelim that you buy from goyim, you have to be toivel. The ha yesheni melib nanka chadoshim damu. Because if you take old pots that you bought from goyim and you made it white hot and you made it kosher, so then that's considered like new ones. And we said you still have to take it to the mikvah afterwards. So a new one is like an old one that was kosher. So either way, you have to take it to the mikvah. Filu hachi ba'ayiv tvila. You still need to do the mikvah. Maski floor of sheishes, which that's the kasha. Yochiv, that's true. Afilu zuza desar bolo nami. He said that even scissors for cutting clothing, you should perhaps also have to put in a mikvah. Amalei said no, there's a limitation. Klei seuda amurin beparsha. The Torah is only talking about utensils used in preparations of meals, and only those required immersion. Amar Rav Nachman Ravu lo shanu ela v'lekuchin. Only talking about ones that you purchase. K'maisa shoyu, like the story that was comparable to the utensils mentioned in the incident that was related to the passage. Apparently they were taken, they weren't purchased, but either way they were acquired after the war. K'maisa shoyu aval she'ulin lo. But if you borrowed from goyim, you do not have to be toivel in the mikvah. Rav Yitzchak Bar Yosef Zavon Mano de Mardo Migoy. This rabbi bought a utensil of mardo, a mixture of earth and dung, from a Gentile. Sover Latvila, he thought he'd be toivelet. Amar leha Rabbanan Rabbi Yaakov Shmei. The rabbi said to him, "Ledidime farsho le minei Rabbi Yochanan." I heard from Rabbi Yochanan, "Klei matchos amurin beparsho." The Torah is only talking about metal utensils, not a utensil made out of earth and dung, so you don't have to be toivelet. Amar Rav Ashi, Rav Ashi said, "Hani kleis chukis." What about glass? Hoyo v'chi nishtabru yesh lo en takana. Since if a glass breaks, you're able to fix it. Kekli matchos damu. It's like a metal, because metal is something you can fixable. So to glass, so therefore you have to toivel glass as well. Kunya, however, what about kunya, which are lead glazed earthenware utensils? Kunya. Pligi ba Rav Achor Ravinas machlekes chadam or betchilaso v'chadamar b'soifo v'chsa. So the difference is, the one rabbi says the halacha is in accordance with the initial state. Since it was initially an earthenware utensil, it does not require immersion. And one says you look at the final product, and at the final product it's coated with metal, lead, so therefore it requires immersion. And the halacha is you go according to the view with the ultimate state. So since you add a glaze of lead on it, according to this Gemara, the halacha is that you have to toivel it. Iboyle Kashi was asked, Mashkanto Mai, what if your Jew takes collateral from a goy, a utensil? Amar Mar, in other words, is that like purchasing it, or taking collateral is not like purchasing? Amar Mar Baravashi, Abo Mashkin Legoy, Kaso de Chaspo. He said, my father took a collateral, a silver goblet from a goy. He took it to a mikvah and then used it to drink. But I don't know why. I don't know if my father thought that by taking collateral it's like purchasing. Or is it because he saw that this guy he saw that this guy was going to leave it. He wasn't going to be able to pay the debt, and he was going to abandon the collateral. So he saw that was happening already. So he just maybe already practically, for all intents and purposes, it was already. He saw that this was going to stay by him, so he took it to be toivel and used it. Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, halokeach klei tashmish min hagoyim. One who purchases utensils from Gentiles must prepare them for use in the following manner. Dvorim shelo nishtamish bo, and something was not used, it's new, matvilim enter, and just take them to mikvah. Dvorim she nishtamish bo, and ayidei tzoyin, if they were used only for cold, kegon koises vekitoinios vetzluchios, for example, cups and jugs and flasks, madichin umatvilin vehem tohirin. So then all you have to do is rinse it and take it to the mikvah, and you're good to go. Dvorim shenishtamish bohen ayidei chamin, they're used for hot stuff. Kegon hayoiros, ve konen. Hold on. Vekomekomosin umechame chamin megalin umatbilin vehem tahirin. So this is items that a Gentile used for hot food and drink, such as large pots, small kettles, and samovars. One purges them with boiling water and immerses them, and then they are pure. Megal matvilin v'hen tehorim. Dvorim shenishtamish bohen al yedei ha'ur. They're using a fire, kegon hashpudim v'haskalois, like spits and grills. Malabnin umatvilin v'hen tehorim. You have to make them white hot fire, and then you immerse them, and then they are pure. And whatever you use before you toivel it, or before you make it into the boiling water, and before you put it into hot fire, one view is that the food is kosher, and one food is that it's not kosher. Bakasha, and there's not a problem. It's just a different view with regards to a different topic. Hakaman de Omar Noisan Tam Lifgam Osur, Hakaman de Omar Noisan Tam Lifgam Mutar. If you hold that if has goyish flavor in it, but it's making it worse, does that make it kosher, or does it make it mutar? So one view is one way, one is the other way, and that's what changes their mind about whether the utensil that you didn't properly kosher, or even toivel, but especially if you didn't kosher and had some residue, that's really, I think, the focus. If you hold that it's nice and tam lifgam, it ruins the flavor. Okay. That's why, and presumably they're more than 24 hours old, to ruin the flavor. So some say, one opinion is that it's kosher, and that's why it says kosher, and the other is that it's not, and that's what it says not. L'man de'amar is tam lifgam mutar, and according to the view that says that if it says tray for flavor and it's making it taste bad, you're allowed to eat from it. Ge'ule goyim de'osur achmona hichmashkus chusla. So then where is it that the Torah forbade eating, made a situation with ge'ule of goyim? In other words, with regards, hold on a second, let me just move away from the noise here. So, with regards to utensils purging, which the merciful one renders forbidden until they are purged. How can you find these circumstances when it is actually prohibited to use the utensil until they are purged? In other words, where do you see that halacha? That what is it that the Torah is teaching you about Giulei Goyim? Where is it that the Torah is teaching you that this thing from the war of Amorim, that we've seen this before, that where is it the Torah is prohibiting it that require purging? So what are we talking about? Where's the case like that? So Amar of Chiobrei, the Rav Huna lo asra Torah elo kedeira bas yoma the lav noisen tam lifgamhu. So that view would be that the Torah is only prohibiting when it's less than 24 hours old from when it was used by Goyim right after the war, and it was less than 24 hours from the Goyim used it with treif. So then that's when the Torah prohibits, but after 24 hours have passed, technically Minatora, it would be permissible. But anyways, and then it would be nois tam kam. It would be treifa stuff that's giving a bad flavor. And that's one view that says that at that point it becomes kosher. All right, tomorrow we'll continue with Hashem, either live or in video. Take care. Have a nice day. Bye-bye, guys.